and transforming the cryptosphere as we know it. Please join me on welcoming on stage Mr. Alexander Fazel, the CPO of Swissborg Ventures, Mr. Jose Pereira, Investment Lead of Caerus, Mr. Zack, the co-founder of Fomo, Ms. Helena Margarido, the CEO of Kodo Ventures, Mr. Oliver von Wolff, the co-founder and CEO of Helion Ventures. Please join me in giving a huge round of applause for our next speakers.
Salam alaikum, Crypto Habibis. How's everyone doing? Salam alaikum, everybody. How are you doing? Can we hear you? Today we have a very exciting panel because we have people all the way from South America. Anyone from South America here? No. Anyone from Singapore? No. Anyone from Switzerland? Anyone from Dubai? No one was raising their hand. So today we're going to talk about business models. One last question as well. Has anyone actually launched a token or is running a crypto business? Show me thumbs up. Does anyone have a token? Show me the other hand. Does anyone not know why they're here? Show me a dance. No? Okay. But hopefully guys, we're going to do something today where we're going to try to be as personal but non-personal as possible. So we're going to try to share things that really are meaningful for each panelist, but also non-personal in the sense that if we disagree with each other, we can disagree with an idea without offending the other person. So feel free today, dear cast and panelists, to disagree if you want. That's how we can sharpen the iron, as we say. Shall we kick off? So without further ado, panelists, please introduce yourself very briefly, 30 seconds max, and that'll be great. Jose, great to have you, buddy, and if you'd like to do a quick introduction.
Well, pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the Crypto Expo team. It's a special panel to be here with Alex. I started working at Swissborg Ventures, then I moved to the new fund, Caerus, which is a new protocol ecosystem fund focused on culture entertainment, and that's where our investment thesis.
Hey, hi everyone. Good morning. I'm very happy, so proud here this morning. And my name is Oliver Wolff. I'm co-founder and CEO from Helion Ventures. We are a Dubai equity-based company in the DIFC. Originally, I'm from Germany, and I'm very happy to join this panel today. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi everyone, this is Zack from Fomo. So Fomo is a very crypto native name, but we started this company 9 years ago in Singapore. Yeah, since 2014. And we were also the first licensed crypto players from the Central Bank of Singapore. And right now we are operating like a crypto bank. So we also saw a lot of ready promise prospect here in the Dubai. And I saw that this even the crypto Expo is also going to Singapore. So that's how we are trying to see that building Singapore and Dubai into the regulated digital asset hub.
Hi everyone, I'm Helena Margarido. I am originally from Brazil and I'm here representing Kodo Assets. I'm the COO of Kodo Assets. We are a company that tokenizes real estate. So we are launching our first project right now, which is a tokenized real estate in Brazil. Even though I'm from there, the real estate's from there. We are actually based in the Bahamas, just like FTX. And because of that, we are having a regulatory nightmare. So I believe we can talk a little bit about that in the upcoming minutes.
Okay, awesome. So today, everyone, we're talking about business models. So trying to find a business model that actually scales over time so that you can start from becoming a startup to scale up and then eventually to an established player in the markets. But before we talk about all the cool stuff, let's talk about the problems, because before offering a solution, we need to know some of the mistakes we made in the past. And I'd like to kick off with you, Jose. What have you seen when it comes to business models and startups that have failed in crypto so that we do not make the same mistakes again?
So just to give context to the failed business models, because there is definitely a higher failure rate in Web3 companies compared to traditional technology startups. If you imagine an axis between regulation and innovation, when you have high regulation that limits innovation, Crypto is more on this side, where regulation has been slowly coming up, but that's the reason why we've seen so many experiments. Some of them have become very successful, some of them have failed. So just for context, I think one of the mistakes, and it's something I think you're also the best person to speak about, is marketing versus community. Web2 companies have a marketing department that is parallel to operations, whereas in Web3, the community is the focus, it's more central to companies. So I think I've seen different companies that have had that mixed up. There's great technology teams that have not gone to market properly or have not found product market fit because they had weak messaging, branding, marketing. And on the other side, I think we've also seen very strong marketing teams that end up being pure marketing. So I think that's one of the points. I think there was also a wave of entrepreneurs that came with a value extractive mentality. So the focus was not very, this is a problem in the space and we come with a differentiated solution, but money's coming here, so let's support our Web2 business model with this and get this additional source of revenue. So I think that had to do with why so many startups have been successful.
Awesome. There's nothing more important than the community, of course. Oliver, as a VC, you've probably seen tons of projects fail over time. What were some of the things that you've noticed that we should avoid in the future?
That's a very interesting question. I would like to come back to something else, because why most like startups failing is not what we're thinking. Yeah, what I see so far, especially now in the beer market, is that it's not so easy to raise funds anymore. And the technology is driven by young, engaged, challenged people. Yeah, most of them they haven't finished their university maybe. Yeah, they just are since 8 years. They are end of 20s. They are 8 years in the blockchain crypto space. So, and if I see these people coming to us and presenting their projects, they're very enthusiastic. They're very much technical driven. And when it's coming to make a pitch deck, when it's coming to present it to investors, they just get lost. So what I'm saying with this is there's a huge discrepancy between founders, startups on the one side, and then on the traditional investors on the other side. Because we're trying to match by ventures as well. So this means this is one of the, let's say, one of the points why startups failing in crypto. Because a lot of these young, challenged people coming with great ideas or having great ideas, they are just not capable to realize and to execute their ideas. So that's number one. Number two is what we see, that a lot of these founders is like, it's like in a love. You know, you're in love, everything is rosa, and you believe you have a big vision. If you're a while together, you find out that a lot of the founders have different interests. So it's very important also to specify what are the interests of the founders, how they see their exit. Do they really want to build up this product to the end and want to sell it, or they want to stay inside? Yeah, or then you find out that there's most likely discrepancies between the founders about how they see the exit and about the company growth. So this would be, in my opinion, number two. Number three is like a whole bunch of colorful flowers which are coming together. Yeah, most likely what I see that a lot of them, they have a knowledge on the technical side, but they're missing a lot of, let's say, experience on the commercial side. So if you talk about Web3, the e-commerce, the commercial side, I would put a bit more in front, because every product, at least from a VC side, we're thinking about, okay, first of all, how I can integrate this product in our allocation, in our portfolio. As a good VC and venture builder, I think about how I can create additional value to the, not only to the investors, also to about this company in which I'm investing. Yeah. And third of all is it for them how to create additional value to this. And this is where we try to compensate by startups in which we're investing their discrepancy on knowledge, professionality, or know-how. But I would say these are the 3 points.
Amazing. So have any of you read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey? So he says at one point, begin with the end in mind. So understanding what's the plan until the very end. Do you want to sell? Do you want to be bought out? Do you want to merge? So that's really good. So not just what you want to achieve when you launch, but what is the last chapter of the journey, right?
Yeah, you know, it's like in a relationship, you always think things going good and we have the same opinion, and then when it's getting difficult, you find out, oh, maybe the interests of the family. And we're all like human beings, we're all making mistakes, we're all changing, we're all developing, yeah, especially the young people who are not finalized, finishing their education or values, and we see a lot of changes there inside. And this is something what we're trying to compensate with our experience.
Amazing. So it sounds a lot like the mindset. Zach, what are some of the problems you've noticed so far so that we can avoid them?
Sure, yeah, I want to really build actually on the 2 points actually this gentleman shared. It's amazing. One is actually compliance, one is really the investment. And my point actually is about the ecosystem. Because I happen to really start my business in Singapore, and Singapore is such a country with such a high really compliance requirement. More than 400 actually over those crypto players apply for the license, and eventually less than 10 get the crypto license in Singapore. And so for the investment side, we got all the great actually investors from the US, China, or APAC, those investors actually in Singapore there. There are a lot of pension fund, hedge fund, family office, all actually investing into the crypto side. And for us, Fomo, we happen to be more like a Web 2.5, because actually our clients is across Web 2 and Web 3. And we did actually calculate how many business models that actually we have been working with, also our client as well, purely B2B. There are more than 20 different business models actually in our clients. So from the Web2 side, there is some of the manufacturing, can be even the one actually manufacturing the crypto machine, one of which is the largest manufacturer that's actually they are also our client, and also from the family office. So they are called old money, but actually they are not really old. They also invest a lot into the new ideas. So that's actually some of the Web2 stuff. Then also from the Web3 side, there is a lot of custodian, crypto exchange, and right now there is derivative option trading of those one. And even more actually aggressively, there are also DeFi. So you can see that there is such a group of range, such a spectrum of all the actually diversity and the innovation. But the key about the ecosystem is, if let's say the regulation is too strong, for example, for us, it took us 2 years to wait for the first license of Central Bank of Singapore actually to be issued. We were quite lucky because it was during the pandemic, so we survived the release of the bubble last year, like Luna, FTX, because actually we all actually applied for the license, but really compliance or the regulation actually protected us. So actually we were not really affected by all those event. But at the same time, if the compliance is too strong, sometimes actually the innovation couldn't really grow as fast as actually some other jurisdictions. So I think really the ecosystems, no matter actually here in Asia or in Latin America or even in Europe. So I think really find the balance between the actual compliance, innovation, investment, and for sure also the talent. That's really the key.
Amazing. Women, can we give it up for Helena? She's with a few dudes here. Poor girl, she needs a round of applause. Let's give her some courage. Yourself, Linda.
When it comes to regulations, I'm the first one to say that I hate it, that I think there should be no state whatsoever. I'm totally uncapped, but I don't think that humanity is ready for that yet. So because of that, we do need regulations. And especially in my business, we are tokenizing real estate as Kodo assets. And what we have seen in the crypto space, just an overview, especially in Latin America, most of the so-called Web3 business models, they are not Web3 at all. They are Web2, selling digital assets. So most of them are, and if you go to the stock exchange, it's no different. Like the so-called Web3 on the stock exchange, which is Coinbase, is a Web2 actually type of business model, right? We haven't seen it yet as popular as it may get one day. So when it comes to our business model, all I can say is that we are trying to sell real estate in a totally different business model that is totally different because we have tokenized the real estate itself, but also because we want, not in this first token, but in the future to introduce some layer of governance on the top of it. and we want the token holders to be able to determine whatever we have received a bid for a real estate, if we should sell it or not, for instance, right? So in order to put something like that together, regulations are more than mandatory. I have seen other projects who are approaching real estate tokenization in some other forums, talking about utility tokens, talking about, oh no, we are actually selling real estate, so since it's not regulated, the tokens per se should not be regulated whatsoever, but that's not true, because you're selling an investment, and when you're selling an investment, that's a security, and you should be regulated, right? So, all I can say is that there's no space for the playground here. There's no space for mistakes. There is no space, because once you're regulated, you're fully regulated. You have all your steps regulated. You have to, they go through all your life, your company's life, whatever you have done in the past. You have to submit lots and lots of documents, audits, financials, and whatsoever. And life is quite tough. And building up on Web3 with regulations in place is quite tough, especially when we talk about scaling. Because you need to make a huge effort right in the beginning to put the business together, to make it running, to test the MVP, which is what we are doing right now, just to prove to the world that you're right, that can be done in a certain way. Then you're ahead of your competitors, and then you're able to move on. But that requires a lot of time, effort, and money. That's the overall I have been seeing so far. In my belief, there should be some space for mistake in terms of regulatory stuff. I think sandbox are more than necessary in most countries, because otherwise people who are in their homes, in their garages, who are actually innovating, they will not even be able to put that solution in the market. And when it comes to Web3, those types of initiatives are more than possible. They are welcome, because it's a decentralized world, right?
Very cool, very cool. So the next question, as you guys can see, the theme here is how Web3 is creating new business models, which was a perfect segue. Helena, thank you so much. Jose, you were analyzing many white papers, working with venture firms. You've probably seen some innovative models. We all know that Web 2 has equity, we have revenues, Web 3 has tokens. What are some of the innovative models which you thought, wow, this is quite novel and really interesting to look into?
So, for the protocols that you can see in the market right now, if we isolate the ones that are generating revenues, they fall into two buckets. There would be infrastructures, layer ones, DEXs, everything that has to do with DeFi, and on the other side we're seeing NFTs. So I think that as a business model from a high level perspective, it becomes market structures. So everything that is facilitating exchange of assets, trade, instant settlement, trustless, permissionless exchange of assets is going to disrupt every industry, as there is with real estate, real world asset tokenization. We're looking at culture. For us at Caerus, we're looking specifically in the culture entertainment side of the tokenization of culture, and that has to do with loyalty and engagement. An example of that was Polygon's Starbucks loyalty program, which was very innovative, how they use NFTs so that people can trade their loyalty, basically, giving liquidity to that. For example, I think it stems from the problem that you have very high take rates in traditional companies. For example, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, you have take rates that are around 90%, leaving the creator with 10% of the revenues only. My thesis is that creators are going to move to platforms where they are rewarded best, have a greater share of the equity on the value they create, and the way that we're investing into this is finding the platforms where all of this culture is going to trade. So from a venture capital perspective as well, we're not investing directly into IP. The comparison would be, if you were investing into a single movie, for example, a piece of IP, versus if you were investing into a streaming platform where all of these movies are going to be. So I'm excited about what's going to come in new marketplaces built for each industry.
Amazing. So I have to ask you, Zack, like, do you agree? Do you feel like the loyalty program model, the Starbucks card, air mileage points is one of the good use cases? And have you seen any other use cases that you feel, oh, this is quite innovative?
Yeah, I happen to just actually made one angel investment actually into one of the company like this, one of the Web3 company. It's yet to announce, but I can share with you actually how actually this company actually it's doing like amazing and attracted the co-investor like LVMH and Chanel actually invested in this company together. And I won't actually share the company name yet because it's going to announce in 1 week or two. But really the business model is really something attracting me. This company actually is the founder is really from the Web2 industry. So it actually knows how actually all those like chemistry, all the like economics actually works. Basically, it's actually a CRM solution for the Web3 company. They help the brands to really attract the users into the Web3. So imagine actually all the brands like Chanel, LVMH, all those ones, they want to really create their NFT and reach out to all those like Web3 users. So that's where the missing point is. And that's why I touch on all the loyalty points, all the like cashback program to build. So they are really like a kind of the sales force into the Web3 stage. But the founders, they really know actually the Web2 all the economics well. And right now, they are just building on all the actually tokenomics, actually building on all those like decentralized actually technology. That's how actually they are not only able to have a very kind of high growth in terms of the user number, which most of the actually the Web3 native project do, but they also able to generate a very positive cash flow. That's where right now, especially in such like really like bear market, and a lot of investors that they are really caring about. And especially for me, that I do actually invest in certain token project, but the token, I think some of the investors, they want to invest in the token because actually it's just like short-term, like actually you can get like quick return. But really for the equity investment, like the one actually I did, something you are really looking at as an investor is really the long term. You want to actually, this company, not only able to generate the impact, but also able to survive the different markets.
So a comment on that, as a VC, Oliver, have you seen models where the token and equity has managed to merge with each other, or do you at the moment prefer a specific business use case for equity, a specific business use case for tokens? What is your view on this?
We have to understand what Web3 is. So, and I'm sure a lot of the audience, they don't know what Web3 is. So, Web3, I mean Web1, let's say, was a fax machine, Web2 was email, so what is Web3? Yeah, Web3 is a kind of headline for Metaverse, NFT, for AI, all the things what's coming up. So what does Web3 helps companies or innovative companies to do? They give them the opportunity to protect the creator, to give them the rights back. And I think that's the most essential part of Web3, and this is exactly what we need on a world economic part of view, because we have a lot of, if you look to commodity trading, yeah? We take commodities out of Africa, do they participate in it? No, they don't participate in it. So we take other things out, or someone is designing a song, but someone else is playing the song and makes the million. So what we're doing with Web3, we're giving rights back to the people who are the original creator of an idea or an innovation. So this is, for me, one main key element of investing in Web3. So it's not about investing in tokens and not about investing in equities, about investing in a unique idea which fills a market niche. This is where I, as a VC, make money with it. I'm not making, you know, when I see a lot of companies pitching and they say, oh, if you have 1% of something, you never will have 1% of something because you never will grow so far. You have to go in a niche, you have to fill the niche with an innovative product, and Web3 gives you the opportunity, if you develop software, if you develop art, if you develop whatever you're doing, gives you the right back as a creator. No one can steal it anymore from you. And this is what blockchain original was based on, made for. Yeah, so and I think that's very important from a VC side to think about Web3. keeping the rights by the people who are creating it, number one, and number two, to invest in innovative products and in also like HR. We're not balance sheet HR people. But if I look to a startup company, they don't have assets. They have only like mind setup and ideas. So in what I'm investing, where do I give money in? I give money to people. People are not accountable. So these are the things from a VC perspective which are interesting. If it's tokens, if it's equity, I don't think it matters if the framework works. Yeah. So if the framework is professional work out, yeah, this has not much to do also with regulations. It's just like which legal restriction, how does the white paper looks like, how is the framework built, how's the company set up, what are the rights, what are the shareholder agreements, all this kind of stuff, yeah? So putting this in a context, then this makes me as a VC comfortable to invest in that.
Amazing. Helena?
Wow. Actually, what can I say? The tokens we are putting together in Kodo, they are security tokens, so they are investments. They are not stakes in the company, but they are a stake in a property, right? So we have decided to put everything together. But the way I see the market, I think there's space for both. I think there's space for some types of tokens. I think there's space for some types of tokenized shares and tokenized assets in other business models. The one thing that I would like to point out is that there's a taxonomy for each type of token that I'm sure that most people are not familiar with, but there are at least 7 types of tokens they can be divided into, right? And one is the so-called utility token, which is basically a license for one to use a determinate service, right? What has been going on so far is that because of regulatory matters and especially because the SEC in the US has already said that those types of tokens would not be regulated whatsoever because they are licenses to use something. Most alternatives are going and trying to follow that way. So if you, for instance, take a look at most of the exchanges tokens, the Crypto.com token, some other Huobi tokens, those types of tokens, they are utility tokens to try to avoid regulation, right? And I'm not saying they should be subject to any type of regulation the way they are actually shaped. But one thing is, in my personal opinion, if you take a look at the tokenomics of that, you realize that most of those tokens are, I'm so sorry for the word, but crap. They are basically useless and they are supposed to worth almost nothing. So they are just worth something because of the shield, because of the community, because of those types of things. So when it comes to tokens versus shares, I think we need to be aware of which type of token we are talking about. And when it comes to utility tokens, you realize that if you take economy of scale into account, you realize that for one to use one license of a service, it would pay, I don't know, $100 a year. But if you purchase 100,000 of licenses, you will not pay that unitary price. You will pay much lower. So if a utility token is worth one license, their value should go down according to the use, not up. So in terms of investments, those types of tokens are not good, in my opinion. But when it comes to deciding that other types of tokens versus shares, I think there's much room for exploring. That's my opinion.
Amazing. So Zack, on to you. As you know, in terms of like sustainability and the economies of scale, I think you mentioned a very important word, is how do you scale this business, right? But we can see that many of the token economics and actual business models, they just reward, as you said, until they run out of tokens, and it does not scale. So what, in your opinion, how do you comment on that, on the scalability, on having a model that is sustainable, whether it's tokens or equity?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is a very good question because last year the pandemic was kind of over, so I got really the luxury actually to travel actually over 20 over countries actually last year. Try to really basically study really the problem, how to really like scale up. Because for Fomo that actually ourselves actually being actually doing quite good job in Singapore. But the problem is, can we really bring the same business model actually over to different regions like Latin, in Africa, here in Middle East, and also Europe and US. So that's where actually I spent a lot of time discussing with the local government and also the local regulator. And I realized that for us, because unfortunately we are kind of really like centralized, our business model, we still actually highly rely on the regulation. So I have to work with the banks and the traditional financial system. But there is some of the business model that is more like customer centric. So that one actually basically just quote from Steve Jobs, why he likes to do really the consumer business. Because consumers, they vote using their own money. They don't really like vote over the politics or relationship or whatever. So that's the consumer business is something really like scalable. And one of the portfolio company actually I invested is a social fight project. And a lot of people try to do the social fight, basically try to create another Twitter or like Facebook for the Web3 community. But this company actually, why I invested in them, because actually the CEO is a product guy. He's a very, very smart because of the regular scalability. And most of actually the project right now, they are all focused on the 3D. So a lot of founders trying to build some very fancy like 3D animation, and it really has all the fancy technology in that. But in terms of scalability, if you have your users in the country like Latin America, in Africa, can the phone, the mobile phone there actually support such a application? That's something that I think a lot of the developers didn't realize. So eventually, actually, this company I invested in called Chili Valley, so they actually focus on the 2D model. So a lot of actually their application on the mobile app is purely like 2D. So it's actually maximizes the capacity, the capability across the different region. And I believe that this project is going to be a really like billion user project. That's something I really realize actually it's really very, very scalable.
Amazing. Comments on that, Oliver. So let us know amongst the projects that you've invested in, supported, incubated, what are some of the best practices you've seen in terms of scaling their business models as well? Do you have any specific examples that we can share with our beautiful community today?
Scaling business model is already, how to say, it doesn't work. You cannot scale a business model. So just coming back to the tokenomics, of course it's important about white paper, tokenomics and all these kinds of things, but for me as a VC, some startups they have decided, here I go to VC and he buys the token. So if startups coming to us say, do you want to buy our token, but beside all the due diligence what we're doing, I never would recommend to a startup to sell more than 3 to 4% of his token to one investor, because then he's not independent anymore. Also a lot of startups, they misunderstand, let's say young people, they don't understand even the difference between what is a P&L and what is a tokenomics. So they think, and this is what we have seen in the past, a lot of them, they launch the tokens, they take the money, and the next one you see on Instagram, they're somewhere in Florida and enjoying their life. Because they don't understand what they raised for, what the money is for. So, but beside this, you cannot scale tokenomics, because you can, when I invested in a startup with like a cap table of 6 million, I cannot scale it. So that's a problem. So I hear always from many VCs, oh, they have 100 million, they have $500 million now about investing in tokens. It's not possible because you cannot scale tokens. Yeah, you cannot invest more than 3-4% in any startup in tokenomics. So that's just numbers, and people playing with this because it sounds good. It used to be millions, today's billions. So scaling business models is more about not scaling business models, it's more about making like a fundamental setup for your business that you can grow sustainably. Yeah. As I said before, for me a startup can only grow and get big in a market niche because before it's going in a competition with the big ones. So scaling a business model is only possible under a specific size when the startup has been filled to the market niche. And then we have to see how the startup is placed on the market to go in competition with the big ones.
Jose, any valuable lessons you want to share with the community?
In terms of scaling, what we've seen, I think there's two sides when you look at investments. There's some that come with a lifeboat perspective. They have a plan, they have a roadmap. As you said, they don't have an investor map, a clear vision of how are they going to use the funds, execute, and then deliver the returns to investors. Our preference for investing in businesses is to go for the ones that have their numbers in green and a clear path forward. And there are no clear indicators of success and chances of them to scale, but I think we can look at the red flags and all of the failure points that they will see for when they go to market. How do they manage their finances? How do they launch their tokens? So I guess it's on that side.
All right, a last word for each, just 30 seconds. Give the community out here for being an amazing community. Thank you so much for your attention up until now. Your last message that you want to share that you think is meaningful to end this panel. Helena, please go for it, your last message.
Well, I'd like to say something that is, I was not 100% complete on whatever I was talking about utility tokens, and this is something to think about. When you're talking about scaling, there are some projects that will approach you in some way, like they are very polite, they are very focused on technology itself, and they don't care too much about marketing, chilling, and so on and so on. And those projects sometimes will have utility tokens. That are those types of utility tokens that is almost as if you bought a share of Apple when it was in the garage. So for those types of tokens, I think it's worthy to take a look, to take a closer look, to see the tokenomics, to see how those guys can scale up, and if we are too far away from it, and if that's probable to happen. That's the case of Chainlink, in my opinion. So I just wanted to say as my final words that there's much of space for growing in Web3. I think we have barely started, and there are lots and lots of opportunities to invest in.
Amazing, thank you so much.
Sure, so my final word to share with everyone is basically the name of my company, Fomo. So everybody knows actually the meaning of Fomo. It means actually fear of missing out. And just now actually did a survey, I think half of the whole actually, most of the audience here is really the builders. So I want to actually remind those builders, really forget about the Fomo. Forget about really the fear of missing out. Don't really care about actually what other people are doing. Yeah, try not really copy others really the business model. That's what we are talking about today. But really try to actually make the Fomo be really the first one to move out. That's basically what actually we as a builder, even me as a founder for the last 10 years, why actually we are really creating the values and attract really a lot of investors.
Thank you so much, Zack.
Well, I will come from a bit other side. We talk about today about the business cases about Web3, at least partly as much as possible in the short time. For me, it's very important that, let's say, the blockchain crypto community keeps the spirit of bringing innovation and technology to the market and to change what we're trying to do, because that's the reason why we're all here. We belong to a new generation, we want to change, we want to transfer things to a new thing, and we want to make this world better. And my wish would be to the audience that everyone who goes home takes this feeling with him, to be part of a kind of innovative society or whatever, to have still this feeling why we started with blockchain and crypto, because we were disagreeing how this thing's going in the world and we do something better.
Awesome. Jose, last note.
I think that when we drill down business models, tokenomics, and all the things that can go wrong, failure points, we can all agree that it comes off as a very risky industry investment. But I think the point to take away is that yes, there's high risk, but there's also outsized opportunity. So I think that for the people, for the investors that have the risk appetite, that like the high risk, high opportunity, very excited about Web3.
All right, guys, and if you do have a token, if you do have a business, feel free to use quants to get people to actually build your financial modeling, because scaling is probably the most difficult part. At Swissborg, we scaled from 5 to 238 employees. in 5 years. So if you want to talk to me directly, please come and talk to me later. And give a big round of applause for our amazing panel today. Thank you so much.